Chapter 1. You could still be rich even if you weren't born with a silver spoon. Getting rich starts with the right attitude. Many of us tend to multiply excuses for why we can't be prosperous rather than look for ways to accumulate wealth. What is more, some people still believe that money is cursed and has the potential to corrupt a human soul. This harmful excuse leaves many struggling, unable to use the money to their benefit. In reality, money is the energy that fuels our daily activities and offers opportunities for self-realization and finding one's calling. But how do we rule over money and not let money rule over us? Nasir from Babylon might have already had all the correct answers 7,000 years ago. He was the wealthiest man then, and many people envied him because of his massive fortune. On a fateful day, while he plied the roads of Babylon in his caravan, he was halted by the shout of an old friend, Ravi. The man asked Nasir if he could recognize him. Nasir answered that he remembered the man's name. Ravi was, however, perplexed at how much his friend had evolved into a very wealthy person. He further inquired about the secret of Nasir's prosperity. Nasir explained that he was just obeying the laws of wealth. Although initially reluctant to reveal his secrets, Nasir eventually told them out of compassion for his dear friend. By the end of this summary, you will learn what 6 secrets make people rich. The value of these secrets is that they don't promise a miraculous and instant wealth accumulation, but offer a strategic plan to become rich. Chapter 2. Get into the habit of putting some money aside. After their initial encounter, 2 old friends decided to sit down, drink wine, and delve deeper into the laws of wealth. Nasir started sharing his experience of how he gained financial wisdom. And so the story went. Nasir worked as a scribe in his younger years, carving words into clay tablets. No matter how hard he worked, he still found it hard to make ends meet. One day, he had a special client come by. His name was Arishaka. Everyone in the village knew him as a wealthy person. Nasir knew he could easily charge this rich guest double for this kind of work, but instead offered Arishaka to strike a bargain. He would carve everything requested by the following day. In return, Arishaka would tell him a secret about how he became rich. Having kept his end of the bargain, Nasir expected Arishaka to do the same. However, expecting a long and seasoned wisdom talk, the scribe was somewhat disappointed upon hearing a few words that barely made sense to him then. Arishaka said, "Keep a part of your earnings to yourself." Frustrated, Nasir defied this statement by claiming that everything he made with his hard work was his. Arishaka smiled and reminded Nasir that he pays for his groceries, lodgings, and services other people provide for him. What does he have in the end? Nothing. Thus, the first law of wealth is to save at least, and never less than, 10% of your income for yourself. Every time you get a chance to spend money on extra clothes or entertainment, think about if you really need it or if you would do just fine without that spending. With time, you might get used to the saving habit and start putting aside a more significant part of your income. Chapter 3. Have your money tree grow by making investments. The first law steered Nasir in the right direction, but saving money was the beginning of a long journey to becoming wealthy. Gradually, Nasir introduced Ravi to the following essential lesson. According to the second law, one should put all savings to work by investing them wisely. As you invest your money, it tends to multiply. However, there are several things to consider before investing. Look out for businesses you're passionate about or possess some background knowledge about. For example, research retail investment opportunities if you're a fashion fan. An investor-to-be shouldn't consider questionable businesses they don't know much about or don't care about. Before you invest, make sure you understand how this industry works. Once, Nasir took a chance to invest in the jewelry business without prior knowledge. As expected, the stones he bought turned out to be fake. Nasir lost all the money he had managed to save. Still, it was a good investment lesson he never failed to follow from then on. Always do your research before you invest in it. Become an expert in that area, and that's how no one will be able to deceive you. Many of us would perceive losing money as something terrible, get disappointed, and return to ordinary life with no inspiration to invest ever again. However, on our way to getting rich, we should be prepared to experience failure and treat it as a natural thing. Money, just like everything else, is all about trial and error. Don't set your initial expectations too high. You can't gain the knowledge and experience required to get rich in one day. But failure is not the end of all our endeavors. It teaches us what works and doesn't, presenting a perfect opportunity to learn and move on. Chapter 4. To be successful, pay off your debts and don't create new ones. The third law of wealth teaches us to steer away from debt. Debt allows the rich to earn interest while the poor become even poorer. After hearing Nasir's first two rules, Ravi decided to save 1/10 of his income. However, the fact that he had debts to pay was quite distressing. He didn't feel like he was getting richer while the debt was still hanging over his head. The creditors were banging on his door, demanding returns on everything plus interest. His good friend Nasir said soothing words of encouragement, reassuring him he had recommendations to handle his financial situation. Following Nasir's words, Ravi made a conscious effort to avoid incurring more debt. His friend's wisdom reawakened him to the stress of borrowing money today to enjoy goods he can't evade paying interest for tomorrow. Ravi decided to cut off his extra spending so he wouldn't get deeper into debt. He worked out a system for paying off his debt. Rather than spending his entire monthly earnings on recurring needs such as shelter, food, clothing, and the like, he would keep no more than 7/10 of his income for that. He would follow the first law, saving to invest 1/10 of his income, so the residual 2/10 would be channeled towards settling his debts. Ravi followed this plan judiciously and settled his debt at the end of the year. Paying his creditors each month a small, consistent amount of money without fail, he earned himself a good name around Babylon. That's how Ravi's journey toward building his sustainable fortune began. Only when he was free of debt could he feel financially free. Did you know? The Richest Man in Babylon was originally a collection of educational pamphlets that U.S. banks and insurance companies circulated in 1920 to 1924. Chapter 5, Diversify Your Investments and Establish Business Partnerships. After 12 months of applying the first and second laws, Nasir began to seek new ways to invest his savings to gain fast returns. That wealthy man Arishaka was in the custody of his savings, but Nasir withdrew all of them. He decided to invest in jewels and buy them from the then renowned Phoenicians. Arishaka, an experienced investor, had doubts about the deal Nasir wanted to engage in and wanted to ensure that the young man made an informed choice. However, Nasir was adamant. The investment proved futile, so Nasir incurred a significant loss. It happened because the cunning Phoenicians sold him fake gems. Commenting upon this bad ordeal, Arishaka declared that a business to invest in should be solid and established. It should be making a consistent profit and returning dividends to investors. If you're not confident about the industry you're investing in and how it works, find someone who can tell you more about it. For example, learning about the gold business. Find someone who deals with it consistently. Without experience working with gold as a product, you will have no practical knowledge of how the buying and selling gold industry works. Establish relationships with a reliable and trustworthy business partner who will introduce you to the business and provide all the necessary knowledge. Arishaka further encouraged Nasir to invest, telling him not to bother over the loss of his entire savings. When Arishaka lost his savings early in his financial journey, he soon found a surefire way of replenishing his savings much faster than it took in the first instance. Everything comes with practice, and the more of it we have, the easier it becomes to attract wealth. Listening to the wise words of Arishaka and acting upon them, Nasir made a remarkable entry into the metal trade. He chose to work with the person he knew and invested in the business that proved solid. Not only did he end up purchasing more metal, but he also acquired knowledge, skills, and experience in the industry. This parable wraps up the fourth law of wealth, which urges us never to speculate in get-rich-quick schemes and invest in sustainable businesses that we understand. Chapter 6. The end beneficiary of your investment is always yourself. Investment is a risky yet noble way to earn more money. However, many overlook that all your investments should benefit you and encourage your development. You don't simply invest in wealth, but in learning more about yourself and growing. The fifth law reminds you, the most important investment is you. Enrich yourself with the knowledge that will help you multiply your earning power. Be open-minded. Find interests and hobbies which might lead to a bigger expansion of your financial mindset. The story with fake jewels was indeed an eye-opener for Nasir. He learned never to put all his money into one place or give it to one person. Hence, he began diversifying his investments. As his fortune grew, he purchased reliable insurance to protect his possessions against catastrophes or robbery and to secure an income for his family if his journey on the road of life was cut short. You can also learn from Babylon, which has stood firm despite the numerous attacks it has faced owing to the fortress-like walls surrounding the city. You can apply this to safeguard your increasing wealth, and that is what the sixth law of wealth is about. We should diversify and ensure our ever-growing wealth. Imagine yourself at the end point of your financial journey. You obeyed and practiced these laws successfully, finally becoming financially mature. At this point, you are wealthy, can relax and have your money for yourself. Now, you can allow yourself the luxury treats you wanted from the start. If you wish for a new house, buy one. If you desire to travel around the world, do so. But you can only arrive at this point of wealth if you spend wisely from the beginning. But once you're financially secure, spending money is also important. Money, as energy, needs movement. It doesn't mean you'll have to spend everything you have earned with your hard and strategic work, but rather give yourself something you deserve. Conclusion. At the end of the day, after hearing Nasir out, Ravi became so inspired to share this newly acquired wisdom with everyone else. Ravi promised his friend that he would share this priceless knowledge with others so that people could understand the laws of wealth. Soon, he constructed an enormous wooden tablet with all these precious rules carved upon it. That's why we can learn and apply Babylon's timeless laws of wealth even today. Most importantly, this story shows us that anyone can become rich when they are determined and consistent about it. All it takes is to follow step by step the laws that regulate wealth accumulation. Start by saving at least 10% of your income for yourself. You can deposit it or keep it in your mattress, but always spare 1/10 of your monthly earnings. If you have saved enough, start investing in sustainable and reputable businesses that return dividends, then make do with your debts. Never sign up for get-rich-quick schemes. Instead, invest in yourself and protect your fortune with diversification and insurance. Learning to become rich is hard work. It never happens overnight. To embark upon this exciting journey, you must be prepared to make mistakes and accept the consequences. Also, remember that risk is noble, but no one is impervious to failure. You can lose nearly all of your possessions at some point, but that doesn't mean you should stop trying. Try this. One way to start saving more is to revise your expenses. We believe we need many things to have comfortable and well-rounded lives, but do we? Here are several techniques to help you audit your budget seriously. Divide all your spending into categories. Update your earnings and expenses. All the numbers need to be on paper, not in your head. Eliminate all unnecessary spending. Come up with new financial goals.